when you make a decision, you're essentially getting rid of that part of your identity. When you make a decision, you can see everything you will lose, but not everything you'll gain. So if you connect to Mr. Brain up here, and he's basically giving you all these reasons why you shouldn't make the decision, right? You probably should make the decision.
Hello, just quickly, sorry to interrupt. I initially recorded this outside in the centre of Manchester because I wanted to show you guys some green. But when you're recording a video and you get into the flow of everything, and I'm just looking at the camera, I'm looking at you, you don't really notice that some guys just start doing construction. The noise isn't very distracting, and I didn't know whether to reshoot the video, but I decided to stick with the video because the information in it I thought was really good and it was the best I could express at the time. So please don't let that distract you too much. Enjoy the video, and I really hope it helps. Take care.
Hello. So I'm coming to you from the centre of Manchester right now. There's not very much green in the centre, but you can always find a little pocket like today. Just a nice little courtyard here. But anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about today was indecision. When you feel like you know you have to make a big decision that you don't really want to, and you have lots of conflicting thoughts. So basically, David Hawkins, he's the writer of these books here. He's a really good guy, and basically he said that human beings spend 90% of their time doing this. They either feel guilty about the past or fear about the future, or both, and as a result they're not feeling themselves in the body now and realizing what they actually are, because you're not actually the past. I mean, look at me, you can't see my past hanging off me, right? You know, you can't see what's in store for me in the future. I'm just me. I'm just a guy here sat in the middle of Manchester talking to you on this video. That's all we are. We're all the present. So when you have this big decision to make, and you're worried that you're going to destroy your future, and you're worried that maybe, say, it's a career decision, or maybe you don't want to be in a relationship anymore, or maybe it's a choice to move to a new town, and you're worried that you're going to ruin your life, the only reason you think that is because you only have your past to go from. So we live in this perception as human beings because we've only got two eyes, right? And we can only perceive time as going forward. We think we live in a Newtonian way of living, you know, A causes B, causes C, causes D. So when we look back on our life, we see it all linear. But obviously with quantum physics coming out, we know that's really not the case anymore. Everything is connected by everything else, and a butterfly flapping its wings all the way in Australia can have a knock-on effect to you maybe not getting a job here in the United Kingdom. You know, I knew a guy who had this amazing job, he'd been working his whole life to get towards, and in his first week, as soon as he got the job, the business went bust. That was completely out of his control. He couldn't predict that. You know, you couldn't predict that in the A causes B causes C in his life. He couldn't look back in time and say, oh yeah, well that was the pattern, because really there are no patterns, right? So what does this mean for you? So let's say if you're having trouble making a decision, let's say it's a relationship decision or a career decision, right? You can't really judge it off your past. You can only really go off the feeling in the present. So if you connect to Mr. Brain up here, and he's basically giving you all these reasons why you shouldn't make the decision, right? You probably should make the decision, because he's just justifying why you should stick to your old story, why you should stick to the past. He doesn't want you to grow, and he doesn't want your spirit to grow, because often when you get the impulse to suddenly do something, I mean, I know somebody who suddenly made the decision to wake up one day, quit their job, and move to the other side of the planet, right? They couldn't explain why it was there. It was just something they really, really wanted to do. So how many people do we know that are staying in positions that they know they don't want to be in, but they have these stupid reasons for doing so? So we all know the person that's like, oh, well, I'm in a relationship and I know it's not right for me and I really want to break up with this person, but we're going to go on holiday soon, and that's the reason they stay. Or I've been with them for 5 years and, you know, it would just be mean to break up with them now, or their mum will be really disappointed. You know, they come up with all these reasons even though they know they should break up. Or even staying at this job, you know, yeah, I know I'm not making the money I want, but I like all the people here, you know, or I'm going to miss the office Christmas party. Those reasons that justify that you should stay and should keep the decision are not actually from you. They're exterior conditions that your brain is sort of latching onto. Because when you make a decision, you're essentially getting rid of that part of your identity. You know, we attach ourselves to our job or our relationship or the money we make, right? And when we decide, no, we want to do something else, that actually kills a little part of us, and that's why we feel the fear. So yeah, basically when you have this decision you know you want to make, and it's in your body, right? Don't listen to these voices, right? Because how many times have we sought out somebody as well that we want to sort of help justify and give us permission to make the decisions that we want to do. You know, sometimes when I want a decision to make, I'll talk to my brothers, and if they tell me, yeah, it's a decision I should make, I go, oh, brilliant. But really, I should have just given myself the permission. You know, the fact that I actually wanted to make the decision in the first place and had this intuition to make the decision in the first place should be the key signifier. I shouldn't need somebody else outside of me. You know, we don't really trust ourselves very much. And the reason we don't trust ourselves is because we have this limited viewpoint. You know, we think we're one person and we're looking through these eyes and we only have our past to judge things off. You know, when you make a decision, you can see everything you will lose, but not everything you'll gain. And really, you shouldn't need to. Because if you have this feeling in your body, no one else can tell you whether it's right or wrong. You know, you should just feel it. And the fact that you feel it is justifiable. And so when you ask someone else's advice, they can often confuse you more. Because when you're asking them, they can only see it from their viewpoint and their past, right? And they might pick a completely different choice to you. So if asking for advice from other people might just confuse you more, and listening to this guy in your head might just confuse you more, what should you do? Number one is you could do what Carl Cease does, where you have a piece of paper, and on the left side of the piece of paper just write down everything you want to do, and don't censor yourself at all. It could be, I want to travel to Peru, I want to be a famous Hollywood actor, I want to buy a row of houses, I want to quit my job, you know, I want to buy a Lamborghini, stuff like that. All this stuff you amazingly want to do. And then on the right side, you write the thoughts of why you can't get that in your brain. Because basically you'll find that the left side here is all the stuff that your body and your spirit wants to do, and this side here is all the stuff why your brain says you can't do it, right? It's terrible, you don't have enough money, it's not realistic. And then once you've got both of these lists, just look at it and look at the left side, all the stuff that your spirit and your body wants to do, and just feel the sensations in your body. Where are they? You might find that they're lower down in your body. You might find that you have this feeling of expanding, opening up. You might find that you have this feeling where you feel like you're falling and you're confused, but it feels really good. Basically, it will feel nice. And if you look at the other side of what Mr. Brain's told you to do, all the limitations that you have, that you shouldn't do these things, right? You might find that you feel a sense of constriction, you know, a sense of tightening, a sense of this isn't really good, you know, it just makes you feel bad. Essentially what Carl Cease says is that these are previews, right? You're looking at two windows of what your possible futures might be, right? And even though, let's say, quitting your job, or let's say breaking up with this person, you might not be able to see and predict what's in the future because it's not based off your past anymore, right? You know that you will feel better if you do it. And that's really all you can go across. You know, you can't go from the fear that you will feel and the anticipation you feel about the future because you don't know, you know? I know a guy who quit his job and he started his own business, and now he's absolutely raking in the pennies, but he couldn't have predicted that when he was in his small story, when he was still working at his job, you know? Or, alternatively, you could pick the other side of the page and still remain, you know, tight. It's entirely down to you. But that's just one exercise to help you sort of bust through indecision and the fear that you might entirely ruin your life. Another way you could do it, basically get the decision in your head, right? And say, okay, so for example, let's take this job. Should I quit this job, right? Do you feel heavy or do you feel light? And the way I describe sort of heavy and light is, how do you feel in your body? Is there a sense of restriction? Do you feel tight? Do you feel like you can't breathe? Or do you get a knot in your stomach? Do you feel up in your head? What is it, right? And then if you imagine you saying, let's say, do I quit this job? Do you feel expanded? Do you feel free? Do you feel spacious? Do you feel lighter in your body? You know, that's another way you can make this decision, because you can't really make these decisions with your head. You can only really make them with how you feel in your body. Another way you could do it, you could just do nothing and just sit, mark out maybe an hour or so just to sit and just be okay with all the fear that comes up. You know, because these decisions, they are scary. You know, you're taking away a part of your identity that you've thought was you, when really you are the person that's just watching this fear, or gets to experience this job, or gets to experience this relationship, or gets to experience, you know, this town that you're in. So you can just sit and you can just let these emotions be here and just don't actively do anything, but just know that it's only temporary, right? And the fact that you feel this fear is okay. Okay, so going forward, every time you're faced with a decision that you don't think you can make because of X, Y, Z reason, you know, maybe I'll lose all my money and my family will hate me, you know, whatever. What I want you to do is, instead of saying, I hope I don't mess this up, say, I hope I mess this up. okay? Because that gets you excited for making the decision, right? It gets you excited for maybe the possibility of, okay, well, it might go wrong, right? But we'll just see what happens. And maybe even saying that makes you realize, actually, I don't need to make the decision. It was just the pressure I was putting on myself to make this decision, you know? And a lot of these times, you won't know unless you go. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about today. Indecision, feeling fear. If you've ever felt this type of way, let me know in the comment section below. We'll have a nice discussion about it. Let me know if this helped. If not, I'm really very sorry, but I hope you have a wonderful day. I actually really don't know how this video is going to turn up. I was indecisive to make the video, but hey ho, I made the decision because there was something inside me that said I should do it, and my brain isn't getting in the way.